The Roman army was not only strong in direct combat, but also excelled at laying some truly treacherous traps. Over the course of centuries, the Romans dominated the battlefield with a series of ingenious snares designed to weaken their enemies and secure victory. And in this video, we will uncover the 7 most terrifying traps employed by the Romans. Traps that left their opponents with no way out. First, Stimuli. The Stimuli was a Roman trap consisting of sharp obstacles made chiefly of iron or wood, placed strategically on the ground to slow, snare, or wound enemy soldiers. The stimuli were generally placed in key pathways, such as advance routes near fortifications or on battlefields where the enemy would be forced to traverse these areas. In this illustration, we can see a depiction of the siege works carried out by Julius Caesar during the siege of Alesia in 52 BC. Among the various defensive measures, one prominent trap is the stimuli. On the defensive line to the right, we have stimuli scattered across the field. The main function of this trap was to create difficulties in the movement of opposing forces, turning the ground on which it was installed into a veritable death trap. When they tried to advance, enemy soldiers could be struck by the sharp points, resulting in serious, often disabling wounds. The aim was not only to injure, but also to disrupt enemy ranks, forcing them to hesitate or stop advancing. Besides its physical effect, the stimuli had a significant psychological impact. The mere knowledge that the ground ahead was filled with these traps made enemies hesitate or advance with caution, fearing injury. Second, Lilia. At the heart of Roman warfare tactics lurked a silent and deadly trap called the Lilia. The Lilia were pits dug in a quintus pattern that formed 5 intersecting points. In each pit, the Romans placed sharp stakes that became a lethal obstacle for any soldier who fell in. The name Lilia comes from Latin meaning lilies, because of the shape of the pits. They were carefully camouflaged, usually covered with branches or vegetation, to conceal the danger from the enemy. Often the stakes were made of sturdy wood, and some were even coated with poison or feces, rendering the wound even more fatal. The Lilia were used chiefly to protect strategic areas, such as the surroundings of Roman fortifications. Examples of their use can be found at Hadrian's Wall in England and at the Antonine Wall in Scotland. These traps formed part of a broader defense system that included walls and other barriers. Their main function was to create an invisible snare for the enemy, who never knew whether the next step would be his last. By incorporating these traps into the battlefield, the Romans not only physically injured their enemies, but also caused great psychological impact. In the illustration, a row of lilies appears ahead of the stimuli, forming a lethal line of obstacles. This trap was among the several defenses Caesar used in the siege of Alesia to block any attempt at escape or relief by the Gauls. Third, Sippy. The Sippy were traps used especially during sieges and battles. They consisted of long pits or ditches, generally about 1.5 meters deep. Their shape was often W-shaped, which hindered enemy passage. At the bottom of those pits, the Romans placed obstacles made of sharp tree branches that served to maim and slow soldiers who tried to cross or flee. The combination of the pit's depth and the pointed branches made the Sippy lethal, causing severe injuries as well as slowing the enemy's advance. 4. Water-filled ditches, drowning pits. The Romans also used a ditch filled with water to hamper the enemy's advance and protect the fortifications during a siege. The flooded ditch created a formidable natural obstacle for the enemy. Enemy forces would have difficulty crossing, especially if the ground was marshy or muddy. 5th, Kervoli. The Kervoli was a fixed trap designed to ensnare enemy soldiers and horses with nets of branches that triggered automatically. 6. Caltrops tribulus. These were iron devices with 3 sharp points, designed to cripple enemy cavalry and chariots. During battles such as the Battle of Carrhae in 53 BC, the battlefield was covered with these devices before the combat, crippling enemy horses. Seventh, camouflaged pits. Soldiers dug large holes in the ground, covered them with thin layers of earth and branches, leaving enemies unaware until they fell inside. So, what did you think of these traps used by the Romans? Which one do you believe was the most frightening? Leave your opinion in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you in the next video.